take their seats, and we'll, if people come in, hopefully, and I hope many more people will come. Yeah, right. For those who may not know me, I'm Doug Bloomfield. I'm the town supervisor of Goshen. Tonight is a real opportunity for you to hear what will be happening in the reevaluation process of our properties. And we have people here this evening who can answer the questions that you may have. The town board back a few months ago went out on this quest and said, you know, it's time. It's time to reevaluate the properties. Because I think the last time, sometime back in the 1998 camp set. And as you know, a lot's happened. Things have gone up, and things are coming down. And nothing stays the same. When we went out to find out what we were going to do and the way we can approach it, the historic approach was to bring contractors in, high-priced people, and they go out and look at every property and whatnot, and they come up with their conclusions. And in this case, we're going to be using in-house people, along with our consultants, and we're going to be using a computer system. And the value of this is that property values can be reestablished each year without going. And so today, when you get your tax bill, it might say your property's appraised at, say, $200,000. But if you have an equalization rate of 50%, your market value in that case would be $400,000. And people don't understand that. I didn't understand it for the longest time when I was paying my taxes. So anyway, that's why we're here. And I'd like you to think through it, listen to what's being said, ask your questions. I really wish this room was loaded with people so they could hear firsthand, because we've got some pretty high-powered people here tonight who are very learned on this subject. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and then I'm going to turn the mic over to our assessor for introduction.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Collectively, hopefully, can answer all your questions, because I know this reevaluation is going to be a successful one here in Goshen. So at that, I'll turn this over to John.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me, or do I need to use the microphone?
You need to use the mic.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. As Joanne said, my name is John Wallum, and with me this evening is Steve Hartnett, who's the regional manager. We both work in the southern region of the New York State Office of Real Property Tax Services. As Joanne says, our name changes a lot. We were recently merged with the Department of Taxation and Finance, so we are now a division of that illustrious body. We're here this evening. We really just want to give you some generic... Oh, thanks. We want to give you some generic information about the property tax, about the way it works in New York State, and also a little bit about reassessment, why it's necessary, and what the purpose of it really is. So we've got a very brief presentation here. Before we get into the specific slides, just want to tell you a little bit. Again, these are things you probably know, but it's worth it for a little bit of review. Everyone here presumably gets a property tax bill twice a year for school tax purposes and for county town. So you're probably already aware that the property tax is used to raise money for the following taxing jurisdictions: the town, of course, the county, school districts, in the cases of villages, special districts, and there are 2 cities in the county, so they also use the property tax to raise money for municipal purposes. So the important thing here, the important distinction relative to property tax is that the taxing jurisdictions that I've just mentioned each year go through a process by which they decide how much money they need to operate, to do their work. Once they've decided that, then it comes to the system of assessments that each town and city maintains as a means of distributing the property tax. So again, there's really two sides to this. There's the side of how much money is needed by taxing jurisdictions to do their work, and that's not something we're here to go into this evening. That obviously is pertinent to each of those specific entities. We're really here to talk about the way the property tax or the levies, the amount of money that each of these taxing jurisdictions need to do their work, gets distributed once it's determined how much that amount is each year. And again, everybody's aware that the town maintains a set of assessments, and the way property tax works in New York State, in virtually all states in this country, and in most countries in this world, is that property tax is based on property value. Now, it's worth mentioning, increasingly these questions have been coming up easily for 20 years. There will be people who will say, well, look, is it really valid in this day and age for property tax, or not so much property tax, but for the work of certain taxing jurisdictions, such as schools, to be based on property value? Is this really a holdover from the days when things were much more agriculturally based? These are very valid questions, but they are not questions that we can deal with, because the structure in this state is still one in which property tax is based on property value. For that to change, the state legislature would have to make changes to property tax structure. So again, this is just one of the givens we all have to work with. So bottom line here is, whether we agree with it or not, property tax is going to be distributed on the basis of property value. And the key there is that so long as property tax will be distributed on the basis of individual property value, the only way you can hope to have a reasonably fair and equitable property tax is to ensure that the town's assessments accurately reflect current market value at the same level of assessment. That's key. And that's why the goal of this project is to establish value at 100%, and the town is planning to implement this for 2012. So you'll first see these new values reflected on the May 1st, 2012 tentative roll, and they will reflect value established as of July 1st, 2011, because the valuation date that operates each year for the town's roll is the preceding July 1st. So every roll the town files has a unique valuation date. So again, those are really some of the basics here. You'll probably hear me repeat myself a few times, but as hopefully you'll have gathered from what I've said already, the purpose of reassessment is really about equity, ensuring that the distribution of property tax is as fair as it possibly can be, again, based on the standard that's in the law, which is property value. So with that, Steve, you can go into the second. You're there already? Thank you. This is really just a little reference to some of the, well, we'll call them the statutory deficiencies in New York State law relative to property tax. While there is an annual valuation date, there is nothing in real property tax law that compels municipalities to reassess